Good morning, my artsy friends. Welcome to our regular Monday morning live. My name is Ken Johnson, your thrifty apprentice, and we are going to try to truck along through getting some really cute things done today. I have a little outline laid out. We're going to cover three major points, and I do want to go ahead and throw out to all Patreon members. There will be a Patreon live tonight. We're falling back into our regularly scheduled program, and we will be having a class over in the creation station. So, first things first, what I wanted to do is take the first part of this live, and we're just gonna go down memory lane for a minute and just take a look at some of the projects that have been done over December. Now, I am aware that this probably won't be all of them because as I was gathering all of this together last night, I was having some issues finding some things, and I'm not quite sure what other sketchbooks this or that may have been done in. So we're just going to run with what I remember. Good morning, Corinthians. So during the course of December, we have done things like paint this gnome, which was painted on a Soho Urban Artist 100% cotton, hot pressed, stretched watercolor paper to look like a canvas. This is still a product I really recommend. I think this may be the product that kind of helped start changing my mind about hot pressed paper and how much I like to or not like to use it. It has definitely become something that I'm very fond of. More so because I'm a really punchy, bright, saturated color guy, and I love the way that hot press paper holds the saturation of color. So, you know, that's all a part of experimenting and growing. We find new things that we like that may fit into our painting style, which is part of the reason I do all of this. And I just really enjoyed it. So we painted a gnome. I'm sure you guys remember we painted the little Christmas ornaments. I don't know. It may have been doing a live. Yeah, I think it was doing a live. This one was done with gouache. This one was done with watercolor pencils, if I'm not mistaken. So we did take the opportunity to make some little crafting watercolor things. Let's see, during the month of December, I also sketched inside this little 100% cotton hot press watercolor paper sketchbook by Potentate. Now this one I do believe I ordered off of Light Wish storefront on Amazon, but the company that actually manufactures and produces this product is in China. Again, another great experience with hot press paper. Actually, December was the month of hot press paper for me. It really was. So the candlestick was done. I think it was done in a YouTube video. Yeah, YouTube video. If I'm not mistaken, this was done with that little fun tube travel system, which I want to pull out again and paint with because I really enjoyed that. I do believe those are superior paints inside that little palette, but and of course you guys know I love superior as a student grade, so I really enjoyed that. And I also discovered during the month of December that I like painting the little thumbnails, small size paintings. It's a really quick way to design a project or a painting that you want to do on a bigger scale. So yeah, just discovered a lot of things during December that I'm really excited about utilizing more in 2025. There was the little mug. This is more of a jar with the candy cane and the holly leaves and the marshmallows, with the idea that there's hot chocolate in there that was done. I do believe this was done in a Patreon class. It was when we got back on track for actually doing in-depth classes inside Patreon. Really enjoyed this. I always enjoy our Patreon classes. And I will always encourage people that if you are not a member of the Creation Station, do give it a check out. I think it's a wonderful little group of people. Right now it's a little group of people, but hopefully it'll grow to be a really large group of people. Next up, I did some painting inside this. This is a 100% cotton cold press watercolor sketchbook by the same company. Again, ordered off a Light Wish storefront on Amazon. This is the one They didn't have a cold press this size, so I did go up a little bit. You can see the difference in those sketchbook sizes, but again, real small. I think it's like maybe 5 by 5. I don't have my cutting mat here, so I can't measure it, but I think it's like 5 by 5. Let's see, I have a ruler. So the smaller one is 3 1/4 by 4. Really nice little sketch size. And the bigger one is 4 1/4 by 5. So, just a size up. But anyway, so inside this one, again, same company, Potenate. I like their paper. I'm gonna be honest, I like their paper. And you can get this paper on AliExpress, Temu, and again, as I said, lightwish.com and Lightwish storefront on Amazon. It's really affordable and it is really good. They're 100% cotton. Now, I was about to say I've never tried any of their student grade paper, but the truth of the matter is I have that accordion Potenate sketchbook that we've painted in before here on the channel. That's actually their student grade paper. Now, that one I'm not as crazy about as the hot press paper, but nonetheless, they seem to be a pretty decent paper manufacturer. So there was the jingle bell done in this one. I think this one was done on YouTube. It's really enjoyed this. Really, really cool. I learned the technique for painting these and making them look vintage from Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter. It's amazing the type of things that you can pick up on from watching another artist, even when it comes down to a time lapse. What I've noticed about a lot of YouTube artists is that when it comes to time lapse, if they're doing voiceover narration, there's a lot of information you can pick up from that narration, even though the video may not be moving at real time speed, so to speak. But yeah, so that's how they're trying. And I love bows. I love painting bows. I got into painting bows about 2 to 3 years ago. And I just like painting all types of bows, trying to make them look as realistic as possible. And then, of course, there was a cute little adorable Christmas gnome that came out on, what was it? Christmas Day, if I'm not mistaken. And I really enjoyed this because I was playing around with the Artwell metallic gouache. What paints did I paint this with? I painted this with Holbein. This was the last Holbein illustration that was done before the review came out, which was yesterday. So if you haven't had an opportunity to catch the Holbein HWC Professional Watercolor review, it did drop on the channel yesterday. So that's something I definitely suggest you go check out if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on those Holbein paints. But yes, look, I like gnomes. So I had a viewer, I can't remember which one of you amazing people said it, but it was a comment to the effect of, you're painting gnomes now. You're starting to move into like more peoply type things. Maybe this will lead to portraits. And you know what? I thought about that and I've thought about that. So I've decided that one of my challenges I'm presenting with myself artistically for the year 2025 is to start tackling portraits. Now listen, it is going to be a journey. And you guys cannot expect those paintings to come out like some of the other paintings, the stuff that I'm normally used to doing. So, but I think that in 2025, I really want to take a step up, make a major push in my artistic journey. I want to be, this time next year, I want to see a dramatic difference in my artistic ability as far as portraits go. So, and the thing is, I'm going to be starting from scratch. So you guys are going to be going on that journey with me through 2025 to see how at the end of next year, my portrait ability has evolved. We'll see. I have high hopes. I'm always enthusiastic and try to keep positive thoughts about things, especially when it comes to art. So the next couple of little images we're going to flip through have been done here and there throughout either YouTube videos or over on Patreon. They've been done with a wide variety of different water-soluble mediums, be it pencils, crayons, or paints. Um, and some of them have gouache and ink and all these other things mixed into them. So we'll start off with this little peppermint. And what's funny is, as I was going through the paintings that I was going to present today, the peppermint I kept going back to, I really love this little rainbow peppermint, mainly because of the whole wrapper. I think I love the fact that you can see that it's in a wrapper and that it kind of stands out. So, um, I don't know. I just really enjoyed this little painting. I love the things that you can pull off with just like a grayed down neutral and a white piece of paper. And that may be something else I explore a little bit more too. All right. And I think that was done on the Fayez 100% cotton watercolor paper, which is inside the Joyous Painter art box, which is still available on DeFyantArts.com if anyone is interested. I think I am going to be running a end of the year sale that will kick off New Year's Day. So I will be taking time to get that sale put into the website and all those type of things. And I think it's going to be 20% off going into the new year. So starting tomorrow, you'll be able to run over to DeFyantArt.com and purchase anything that's on its site for 20% off. So if you've been looking to get a bamboo Voyager palette, if you were interested in the Joyous art box, if you've been interested in any of the digital prints that you can have printed out so you can frame them, then tomorrow, starting tomorrow and running the first week of January, might be the time for you to take advantage of that. So here is a candy cane, of course, with a bow, that was done. I want to say is this Fayez? No, this is not Fayez. This is a cut down piece of Famuhi 100% cotton watercolor paper that I took off of a block. So a lot of this will be 100% watercolor paper, which has kind of become my staple go-to paper for most things. Excuse me. I haven't replaced much of my paper stack, like my loose papers, my paper pads, my watercolor paper blocks. I haven't replaced any of those with cellulose paper in almost a year now. Simply because there are so many affordable 100% cotton watercolor paper choices on the market at this particular point. Now, that's not to say, especially if it's coming from a budget company that white labels it from someone else, that it will be a 100% cotton paper, because I have experienced that. But 98% of the time that I've ordered a 100% cotton paper, I've been moderately, at least moderately pleased with it, depending on what end of the spectrum as far as grade goes, whether it's sized both internally and externally. I'm getting tongue tied all of a sudden, or both. So this is done with the Holbein, and again, enjoy. I actually ended up doing quite a few things with the Holbein. This was done with the Holbein. The gnome that's on the watercolor canvas was done with the Holbein. Um, the purple mug with the white spots and candy cane was done with the Holbein. I want to say, well, I know this gnome was done with the Holbein, and I want to say that this Jingle Bell was done with Holbein as well. So I had quite a bit of experience with that paint, and let me just tell you, excuse me, it's a really good product. It's a really good product. Not my favorite paint, but a really good product. So we did the snowman. I believe the snowman was done on a live, and I really enjoyed this painting. I guess I am starting to push myself to do a little bit more animal, people type paintings. So just doing portraits would be the next evolution up. Um, and the thing is, I hadn't really thought about over the course of the year of 2024 how many more animals and people-y type images that I tackle. I have to say, I might be kind of proud of myself about that. Is that wrong for me to say? I hope not. But yes, love this. Love the dimension that I got on the cold mouth. Um, Love the way the holly turned out. Overall, this was a really good painting. Can't remember what we used to get that saturated black like that though. It may have been a fine liner. I'm not sure. All right. So then there was the pine cone watercolor Christmas card that was done with. This was the. I want to say this was the Stettler Aquarelle watercolor pencil. Maybe review video. Maybe I think. Either way, those pencils are amazing. Love those pencils. Especially for them not to be labeled a professional watercolor pencil, for them not to come with any light fast ratings on them. When I stack them up against other student grade and other budget grade watercolor pencils that I've experienced over the last 5 years, I would definitely put those more in the bridge category, like that step up from a student grade, but it's not listed as a professional pencil, so you don't know that it is, but it gives you the quality payout that a professional pencil would. Because I would stack these up against Caran d'Ache Super Color Soft, not their Museum Aquarelle. Let's be clear, not the Museum, not their top of the line ones, but the ones that's right up under that, the Super Color Soft, which happens to be one of my favorite watercolor pencils on the planet. Um, I think these are pretty comparable to those. I'm just more sure that the Supercolor soft pencils are an actual professional pencil, versus the Stellar Aquarelle, which doesn't really give you any indication that it's professional, although it performs like a professional set. So, really enjoyed this, and that was my very first pine cone ever painting. Go figure. All right, we had the Christmas bulb, which I thought turned out beautifully. I wasn't really sure how mixing in just straight black was going to work with that bow, because to be very honest with you, for as much as I love using black, it can and it has dulled down some paintings. It can shade your colors too much in a mixture. And sometimes if you use just straight black, it can look dead. However, there are other times when it will really liven a painting up, as I feel it did in this aspect. This was done with with a mixture, but mainly done with the Sargent Art watercolor crayons. I'm sorry, the Sargent Art watercolor crayons in Art Wells gouache from their newly released 42 set, which I will remind you guys, if you are interested in that Art Well gouache, especially the metallic colors, they do make a nine jelly cup set, that has basically a mixing set in it, along with the main metallic colors like your white, your copper, your gold, and I want to say silver is in there. And there's like 9 jelly cups of 50 milliliter paint. And they are really affordable. So if you're interested in trying Artwell's gouache, I think that will be the way to go. It comes in a box versus a airtight palette, because there's only 9 versus the 42 that come in that palette. But still, I think it'll be a great way for you to experience those gouache, and they still come with the lids, so you will still have a bit of added protection, against them drying out as quickly as a normal jelly gouache would. Great experience with this particular, and then Artwell's not paying me. You guys know I love their products, so I talk about them. Use some of their gouache on the snowflakes for the bulb, as well as to put into the bulb topper. Pretty cool. Enjoyed this one. Never, I'm not, all of these are going to end up becoming more than likely a mixed card box. Like a box of 12 Christmas cards that has one of each design, or how many ever designs I picked to go in it. And I'm going to put them in the computer and put little gold borders around them and all these type things. And you guys may see those for Christmas season launch, which is somewhere around July 2025. So next up was another mug, and I actually drew inspiration for this one off of the purple one that was done over in Patreon. I decided I want to do one on YouTube, just in case you weren't a Patreon member. So this is the one we ended up doing. I enjoyed this. Think it was done in a live. Be honest, I was a little nervous going into this one about the scarf for some reason, although I didn't say it out loud. But overall, I think it turned out pretty well. This was done with the Shinhan Professional watercolor paints, which is more of their student grade versus their professional, although they are really, really good paints. Really, really good paints. Enjoyed that, indeed. And I think the polka dots were done with Art Wells of white gouache, if I'm not mistaken. There was the gingerbread, which was done, oh, actually in November, November 24th. So, was this Thanksgiving? When was Thanksgiving? Was Thanksgiving on the 28th or the 24th? I can't remember. Either way, this was done around that time. This also was done with the Shin Hand Professional. Just a really cute gingerbread man. I think it turned out well. It inspired me to want to do cookies. I really don't know how I feel about the Christmas season being over with. Anybody who knows me knows it's like my favorite time of year. I even had the idea to keep the tree up and decorate it for one major holiday out of the month throughout the year. That's a little obsessive, huh? Who cares? I'm obsessive. I'm eccentric. I'm weird. I like weird things. Moving on. There was the macarons. I enjoyed this one. I like painting macarons. I like painting food. How about that? I think, when I was younger, I don't remember being as hung up on food and sweets as I am now. Of course, I was in much better shape, thinner, and probably much better looking at that point too. But you know, with time. So this turned out really nice, I think. This again was done with those Shinhan Professional watercolors. I really like those paints. I think I like those paints so much because they remind me of the punchy vibrancy that you get from Mission Gold without carrying the Mission Gold price tag, especially the Mission Gold Pure Pigment Set price tag. Which of course we all know Mission Gold is my favorite professional watercolor. Their Pure Pigment Set is my actual favorite paints. Although their 18 color mixed pigment set is not bad at all, and we may be using that today. But enjoy the cookies. You can find many macaron paintings on my channel, in all honesty. Then there was just kind of the basic snowflake painting. It was a blue background with copper snowflakes on it, and this was one of the experiments we were doing with the Artwell gouache to see just how much more opaque it became as it continued to dry. And it's amazing how opaque that gouache gets. And you can definitely see the sheen to the metallic gouache. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera, but here in the studio, it is very prevalent. There's no doubt that there is a sheen. Oh, it's actually pretty. And it's amazing how simple that is, but how pretty it is to me. It would make a great design on a Christmas bulb, on a Christmas, like a Christmas wrapping. Ooh, a Christmas wrapping paper. Okay, let me make a note of that right quick. There's an idea. I like that. That would be a cute Christmas wrapping paper. All right. And a Christmas card. Ooh, wouldn't it be nice to have a card designed to go along with the wrapping paper around the package? Oh, that would be so cool. But anyway, last but not least, and I know this is not everything that we painted during December, but it was as much as I could collect up at one point. I'm not sure what sketchbooks I worked in beside these two. But this was testing out the Crescent watercolor board. And I need to back up and do some correction about this. So when we painted on this, I was just playing around because it's been my experience not to like aqua boards by a lot of companies. The first board canvas geared towards watercolors, water-soluble products that I found myself liking was this Soho Urban Artist stretch watercolor canvas. That in all honesty, after trying so many different aqua boards of some type by some company, this was the first one I enjoyed and I really like because they're not trying to mimic a canvas. They're actually stretching a watercolor paper. So I think that's what made the big difference there. So when I first started painting on this, I was a little, I went into it with apprehension. We did it on camera live. So you guys got to see it happen in real time. What I discovered about this after I looked at it once everything was dry is that I really love the way it looked. And it reminded me so much of this stretched watercolor paper. I was like, it held the color and the vibrancy. As things dry, it seemed to like come alive even more. I couldn't believe it. So I decided to go back and look at the package again because during the painting, I kept saying I found it really hard to believe that there was a cold press board. Well, it's not. It's a hot press board. So therein itself lies the difference. Here's what I'm discovering. Aqua boards or watercolor canvases that are made of hot press paper seem to be my preference. Because every aqua board I've ever tried that was cold press, I did not like. It warped, it didn't hold saturation and color. I don't know, it just seems really difficult to paint on. But I'm starting to find that these products made from hot press paper perform completely different. And I like them. So I just wanted to make that correction. This crescent board is not cold press, it's hot press, and I like it. So I'm glad I have a couple of more. On our next pre-recorded video, we may actually be painting on one of these. And that was just a holly in part of a sunflower. Yep. So there, my friends, are some of the things that we did throughout the month of December. Some of my thoughts on looking back at that, products that were used, and a couple of recommendations and suggestions that you made. Oh, I'm throwing stuff at myself. Forgive that noise. I'm sorry. What was I saying? Products or suggestions that you may or may not want to follow up on. We opened the advent calendar for 2024 that was made during Christmas season of 2023, and it was a custom made advent calendar journal. When I get off of here, if you want to see this video, I'll be sure to try to remember, let me say it like that, to link that video in this live's description when the replay goes up. Yeah, so it was, covered with fabric, down with pattern paper. I made 12 envelopes, right? And I was trying to make sure that I made the advent calendar of things that I had in my studio. I did not want to go out and purchase anything. That was the whole point. And we did 12 days, 12 individual envelopes that were bound into a journal. And inside each of the 12 individual envelopes, there were art supplies that I pulled from around the studio that I did not use on a regular basis, that I was pretty sure I was going to forget about. Inside those 12 envelopes were these art supplies. So these are the things that were pulled out of the advent calendar. Now, we did a few advent calendar paintings, although we concentrated more on other things during the month of December, if the truth be told. But these were those supplies. There was a black and a white gouache, a water brush. There was a Ink Master fine liner, which is a wonderful, kind of on-the-go pen that I picked up from Jerry's. There was a couple of Faber-Castell Gold Favor Aqua watercolor pencils. There was an eraser and a pencil and a black fine liner. And then we had these three primary watercolors, which was a ultramarine blue and a lemon yellow Winsor Newton Cotton. And then the red was actually Durant Academy, Crimson Red that was added to the set. So we also got inside that a sketchbook that was made, and it was just one of the little throwaway sketchbooks that I had, but just something for practice, and I figured it would be cool to stick it inside the advent journal. So that was the paper that was included. In the two advent paintings that we did, because there were only two, was a donut, which was done the first day we opened the calendar, if I'm not mistaken. And then we ended up, there was the other Christmas painting, where there's another Christmas painting. I forgot about this one. And this one was done with these supplies. And this paper that's bound into this sketchbook is a 90-pound mixed media paper that does handle water-soluble products pretty decently, but it would also work for alcohol markers, colored pencils, as well as oil pastels. Although I don't think I would put an oil pastel painting inside a sketchbook. I typically only do oil pastel work standalone. So that was as much as we were able to experience with the Advent calendar. Not nearly as much as I wanted to do, but I'm not terribly disappointed because I feel like we honestly did get a lot of painting done during the month of December. Okay, so with all of that in mind, I set out to design an advent calendar for 2025. I'm gonna sit that back over here. And this, my friends, is what I came up with. This is the Defiant Art Advent Calendar 2025. This is a, of course, custom, handmade Advent calendar journal. And I tried to go with a different idea from what I did last year. So let's just take a look at this. It is, of course, a book that is covered in like this zigzag fabric. The binding on it is twine binding. And I did add a couple of beads for a little pizzazz, you know, a little Christmas razzle dazzle. On the front, we have different pattern papers that have been layered to mimic my normal card front journal style with the different layers. Used a couple of Christmas bows and Christmas tree ornaments for front decoration. Made a little paper bow and pulled, I want to say that's a button. I think that was a button off of a shirt or something that came from a thrift shop. And I just cut a piece of pattern paper down and used it to string it through so it would look like thread. And then the little circles, I used a hole puncher and a piece of pattern paper that had gold foiling on it, and just punched out the little circles that I used for the middle of the snowflakes. Again, just to add a little razzle dazzle, a little pizzazz to it. So, opening this, I did put the beads down far enough so that they can be lifted up above the book and there would be nothing obstructing the spine once the book was open. So on the inside, this is how 2025's Advent Calendar Journal will be designed. This year, instead of using the numbers 1 through 12, I opted to use alphabets. Now there's a little story behind it. So I still have some of these silver numbers that were used in this one. But I did not have enough ones in order to complete what I needed. Because I needed a 1 for day 1, I need a 1 for day 10, I need a 1 for day 11, and I need a 1 for day 12. Well, I didn't have them. And the whole point of doing this was not to have to purchase anything, but to use things here in my studio. So what did I have instead? I had a sticker book that had a bunch of alphabets that was sort of in the same font style. So instead of 1 through 12, you will see letters A through L for the 12 days that the Advent Journal is designed. Each of the front pages, the 3 front pages, are all pieces of pattern paper that have been designed with 2 pockets on each side, made of different pattern papers and labeled with a different number to represent day 1 through 12. And in each of the pockets, which you can't see here, but they've actually been sewn down the middle in order to make sure that they stay divided. And then the pattern paper that was used for the bow on the front has been used as the ribbon down each piece on the inside. So, and yeah, the bow is made of paper, so even when you open the book, if it should flatten, you can always fluff it back up if you need to. Now, inside each of, excuse me, inside each of the pockets, there's a card. Now I'm only inside each pocket is a card. Let's see if I can do this without. Okay, there we go. Because I don't want to give away the first prompt. So this is going to be a prompt advent journal. Inside each of the pockets, there's a card which you pull out for each day, and in each of the pockets, there is a prompt. That prompt will prompt you what you're supposed to be painting for that day of the 12 days of Christmas. Now, the thought process behind this was not to include art supplies, but to make it a prompt journal, and then you would take those prompts and use whatever supply you desire in order to follow that prompt for the 12 days of Christmas. So that's how that has been designed. And if you're wondering why I'm being so secretive about the prompts that's on there, well, that's because this will be a custom listed product on Defiant Art website. That way, if you decide you want to participate in going along with the 12 days of Christmas next year, when we get around to this, you can have your own to go along. The envelope that I use to make this, there is a little flap on the inside that gives me so much trouble trying to get number one back in. I'm gonna have to go in and fix that. But anyway, so those slide in. And this will be listed on the Defiant Art website, custom order. It'll take about a week for processing before it ships out if you decide you want to have one that goes along for Christmas 2025. I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be really fun. And at the back, there's already 100% cotton watercolor paper pre-bound in order for you to follow the 12 prompts. I think you end up with 14 pages, so you have 2 additional pages just in case you mess up or you decide you want to do some other additional paintings inside the book. And as I said, that is 140-pound cold press acid-free 100% cotton watercolor paper. So that, my friends, is the idea in the journal, Advent journal for Christmas season 2025. I think it's some really cool prompts in there. I think it's a really cool design. I will go ahead and throw this out. If you decide this is something you want to order from the Defiant Art site, keep in mind that the pattern papers may be different because each one is custom made. Each one is custom made. So, but it'll be along the same thing, the same design. It'll have the same prompts. It'll really literally be made the same way. It just may have 1 or 2 different pattern papers in it because, of course, with custom designs, as you run out of one, you have to switch over to another. So there, my friends, is my idea for the Advent calendar for 2025. And it will be going up on the site in the next couple of weeks. But it's not like you're going to need it to 2025. So, you know, if you decide you even want it. We are looking at watercolor calendars. This, my friends, is Grabby 12-month watercolor calendar for the year 2025. Okay, before we jump into this, let me say a couple things. When the original idea to do this came up, this was one of the most affordable watercolor calendars I saw, and therefore I grabbed it for this idea, or Deca grabbed it for this idea. In no shape, way, form, or fashion am I promoting Grabby. Grabby has not paid me, asked me to do this in any shape, form, or fashion, and this is not sponsored. As a matter of fact, outside of this watercolor calendar, which I feel is actually priced very fairly for what it is, most of Grabby products are white labeled and completely overpriced. As a matter of fact, there was just a situation on Instagram about a week ago where I saw a video advertisement of Grabby releasing that cell phone fan style palette that I have by Ting. Most of you OGs or some people who've seen any of these superior videos may know or remember what I'm talking about. I won't get up and go get it, but it is the big, like 50 color palette that I have that has these fan style watercolors in it that open up from both sides, and then it has the little flip down in the front for mixing that makes the whole thing look like a cell phone. Most of you may remember what I'm talking about. Well, I saw an advertisement the other day from Grabby with that exact same product in it saying shop now. So I decided I would just hit the shop now button because I wanted to see. So I hit the shop now button and I scrolled down to look at the price. And to my amazement, Grabby had that product listed at $29.99 plus shipping. I was blown away. I was blown away. Why was I blown away? Because that palette is $13 by 10. That is a white labeled product. Grabby is not producing it. They are white labeling it from Superior's factory. And they have upcharged, I mean, they're not paying anywhere near $30 to have it made. I mean, it's like crazy. So if Ting is able to sell that exact same palette at $13, imagine how much it actually costs or how little it has to be costing to actually have that palette white labeled from Superior. So for Grabby to be charging $30 for it, I think it's complete highway robbery. And I'm starting to get a little frustrated. And and I think I'm able to say this as someone that speaks from both sides of the spectrum, as a product producer and as a customer. There's a such thing as fair trade. There is a such thing as not getting over on people. I am able to white label a product and then reprice it. And we kind of touched on this discussion in another live where I was talking about retail markup is somewhere around 50%. Whether we like it or not, that's just kind of the standard. But even with a 50% markup, there is still companies that will mark up much higher than that or charge just ridiculous fees. And even from a private producer, I am telling you, for a company as big as Grabby, it is absolutely ridiculous for them to be selling that fan palette for $30. And then it got me curious. So I started looking at the other products that they sell. And I started looking at the pricing on these products that are obvious white labels because you've seen other versions of them before under other brands priced dramatically lower. I mean, just take time, go to their website, go to their Amazon storefront, go down Grabby's list of products and look at how much they're priced. And then just say it's a watercolor set. Then type in the word watercolor paints in the Amazon search bar, and I guarantee you're going to find something that looks similar by many other companies priced completely under Grabby's price. And I think that that's unfortunate that that's the way that they operate. I really, 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 really do. Now, I don't have anything against Grabby. It's not like we've ever talked to each other or that we've ever had any type of relationship. So it's nothing like that. I just do not, even as someone that produces or is trying or is getting into producing products myself, I still don't want to see anybody else getting ripped off. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I just thought I'd throw that little tidbit out there. So let it be known that this is absolutely no type of advertisement for Grabby. It just so happens that this is one of their cheapest products. And it's probably because it's thin cardboard box and a couple of sheets of watercolor paper. 12 to be exact. And for that, you're still paying about 13 bucks. So just FYI. Here we have a 12-month watercolor calendar for the year 2025. On the back, it says Grabby 12-month watercolor calendar guarantee. If your product does not perform properly, please contact us at service@grabby.cc for a replacement. Paper supporting responsible forestry stamp and a UPC code. When you pop this box open, which we have done in a live before, I think when I first showed you guys me getting this, I opened it up because I was curious to see what I was getting. And I didn't say anything at the time, but I'm definitely saying it now. What you are getting is pattern paper, weight cardstock, chipboard stand to fit the calendar on or Grabby's logo, 12 pre-printed, definitely hot press, which is actually a decent thing, and then the month of the year with the word Grabby printed on it. That's what you get inside the box. That's about $12.98. Again, one of their most affordable products. Now, I'm not saying don't get this one if you find it interesting. I'm just saying, just search and see how much watercolor calendars are. And Now, I do have another one here that, because Deca is amazing the way they are when they do sponsorship, a lot of times they always make sure extra, sometimes two extras come for a giveaway. So there will be a 12-month watercolor calendar 2025 giveaway done. Yeah, this may be a little unfair doing it today, but I will get it in the mail as soon as I possibly can after today, possibly tomorrow. To all of the other giveaway winners from, what was it, last week, please don't fret. Your giveaways are coming. They are coming. Just been experiencing a few difficulties, but they are coming. All right. So there's not much to go through with this. You get, 12 months pre-printed on sort of a blue ink font. Pretty straightforward. So I thought that what we would do is start off with doing January. And for January, I figured we'd go ahead and just do the birth flower for that month. Now, what's funny about this is I didn't intend on doing flowers for this calendar. And I can't say that every single one of these that we do will be a flower. I'll try to mix it up a little bit. But the spacing that you have for this particular calendar size just, it lends well to a more zoomed in, up close view of a flower versus something else. So I've decided that I am going to do a carnation, which happens to be one of the flowers for the month of January, and we're going to do it in ink and wash so that it doesn't take too long. So I have gone ahead and transferred my carnation onto this paper because I was not going to take the chance of sketching on it at all. There's only enough in here for the 12 months. So if I mess one up, yeah. So I didn't want to take a chance, and I wasn't sure how it would perform with erasing and a different type of ink graphite pressure. So I did pre-draw it and then transfer it onto the paper with the methods I normally show you guys I use. So what I'm doing now is looking for a fine liner, and I think what I'm going to do is just use a Sharpie. That way I know this is something that any and everybody can access very affordably or might already have in their homes. So this is just a Sharpie pen black fine liner. All right, let's jump into this. So I'm just gonna go in and start off by inking my carnation. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna worry about my graphite lines. If I get it perfect, I get it perfect. If I don't, I don't. I'm not too concerned with that. My carnation is going to have a few jagged edged petals here. They don't always have to be, but let's see. They don't always have to be, but I like to see the ones with the jagged petals on it. I saw some on the internet when I first decided to do this that had the you know, more rounded petals like that. And I have to be careful because these are actually coming out, kind of shooting out and up versus going to the side. So I am having to keep directional drawing in mind. I'm gonna do the same thing with the coloring. Now for the products we're using in today's video, we're going to be using ink tints products. I think I want to say this needs to change and go this way. And then here, put one back. We're going to be using Mission Gold paints and ink tints pencils. Okay, let's see. We are just putting a little foliage, a few leaves, so that we'll have a little something to go on here. All right. And then we need to do some hatching because we're doing an ink and wash. So we're about to put some of those Inktober lessons that we learned into effect. And we're going to see if we can go through here and separate some of these petals. Now, if you've been with us for a minute, you remember all that Inktober line work we learned in order to enhance our watercolor paintings. So let's see if Thrifty was really paying attention. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. But what I am doing is just going through and separating those petals. I am following the direction of each petal as I work with it. Just want to get some separation, and this also is going to limit the amount of work you need to do with your mediums. It'll also help with knowing where your values go as far as light and dark is concerned. Oh, following the direction of that one was a little complicated actually. And I am turning my paper as I work. Of course, I always suggest that to you guys. Make sure you turn your paper to make it comfortable for you, especially when it comes to drawing. Especially when it comes to drawing. And I am making my hatch linear lines straight out from the area I'm trying to darken. Let's rotate around here and do some of this side. The hatch lines are small, choppy, and close together. Every now and then you'll see me kind of extend one just to give the indication of some veining. Now, that one's turned up, so you would see shadow here. And the only thing I remember about this truth is directional shading. Outside of that, it's not hard. It's just hash marks, lines, little lines close together. I just always keep the center of the petal in mind as I do it. Alright, now is that one coming this way? I think that I think that one is coming this way. And that one's going that way. And then this one would go in this direction. And then around this direction. Indeed. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Get some hatching going on here. Go ahead and finish these up real quick so we can get to the painting. And each leaf, each petal, I just said leaf, each petal at this point should have its own separation. It's going to be kind of long. You can see much more of that. All right. That's how I would work that. And here we have some, of course we'll have some here. And I'm following the shape, curving to my, what is this, my left as I move to the left, and to my right as I move to the right. Just making sure I get some darkness in all of, and let's see, and this would be shadowed. So, and none on any side. That leaf is going to be darker than anything else. All right. I think that's going to do that. I'll go ahead and draw a border around this. I'm glad that went off the paper on the tape. I'm so glad that went off the paper on the tape. Once I finish this, I'll check the comment section because I will need to give this ink just a second to dry before I try to go in on top of it with any type of product. You can give yours a background if you want to. I won't be giving this one a background. I'll be leaving it white. I might go in and put in a blue background a little later on. Let's get it a second to dry. All right, so let's jump in. Hopefully we've got, I would have pulled out the blow dryer just to make sure it was dry, but that Sharpie ink doesn't normally take too long to dry. You know, I could have used could use this. I'm not going to. I'm going to use some ink tint pencils at some point, but I'm going to start off with Mission Gold watercolor. So this, of course, as you guys know, is my favorite. You can see how much I use this paint. Yes, this is my favorite paint. I'm not ashamed of the way that my palette look. It has been used with a lot of love. All right. So we're going to start off with a really light wash of lemon yellow. I'm going to actually paint with synthetic squirrel brushes. I don't know how smart that is. Hold on. Because I think that's hot. I'm pretty sure that's hot press paper. Let's rewind that thought. And we're going to paint with a synthetic golden tack line brush. But I'm going to use one that you might not think I was going to. I'm going for one of my oldie babies. One of my oldie goodies. Where are my creative inspiration brushes? I have to put my hands on them. Here we go. This is the one I want. It's been used so much. This set has been used so much that there is absolutely no writing, barely, on the brush anymore. But they did say number 2 round. Creative inspiration, creative mark artist products. This is a set of golden Teflon brushes that I picked up from Jerry's Autorama under one of their house brands, Creative Mark. Let me tell you, painted with these brushes for so long. Absolutely love them for such a long time. As a matter of fact, this set, Royal and Lang Nichols Zen All Media brushes. Well, we finna see if anything smudges. Doesn't look like it's going to. And I am putting just a really light wash of water on here. Like I said, I'm sure this is hot press, so this is not gonna appreciate me using as much water as I'm about to try to use. But Thrifty pushes it. You know how that go. But yeah, this set of brushes and my Royal and Lang Nichols Zen All Media brushes were my go-to brushes for everything for a really long time. And then in like the last year and a half, I've come across and started to discover so many more brushes that I love. Like I love the Artigra brushes. For synthetic squirrel, I love Master. You know, I can't promote that anymore. Never mind. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and start adding a really light wash of yellow. Now the reason I added water and then I'm using a watery wash as well is because if you use Mission Gold, you will know that their yellow is pretty bright. It will blind you. You're gonna have to forgive any noise you hear in the background. I have neighbors outside on the phone holding a pretty loud and aggressive conversation. Sorry if you may be able to hear that. So what I'm doing is just going through, and let me reweight this area more because it was getting, that leaf got more color than any of the rest of them. But what was I saying? I'm enjoying the Artigra brushes. I have enjoyed every single paint crush brush I've used, which most of you guys know those are the ones I use the most. So I really like those. I've got some Princeton brushes that I recently got that I find fabulous. Really nice brushes. I have to be careful though, because I don't Okay. Now what I'm doing is going back in as that paper dries and slowly building my color. You guys know I paint in layers, and I just want to make sure that it's at the saturation, the same saturation of the leaf that I accidentally got too much color on. I love this quality about hot press paper. A, the fact that it'll dry fast enough for me to, in the same, kind of painting sit down session, go in and immediately start adding the depth to my color. And this is one of the things I thought as a painter who likes to layer would be a drawback of hot press paper. But I'm actually finding it to be a huge advantage because I'm able to, get my colors to where I want them to in less uh, dries between washes, if that makes any sense. Uh, that's still gonna shift quite a bit, but I think that's gonna be pretty. I'm gonna get it a second to dry, and then I might go in with another layer on that eventually. But let's just start there. All right, I'm gonna skip down to sap green. I love these paints. And I'm gonna go ahead and start in with another thing I like about hot press paper. I'm able to paint right next to it and not have it too wet. We're just gonna come on down that stem. You've already done most of the work with the ink. So basically all we're doing is coloring in a coloring book, honestly. All right, let's jump over here and base coat in our little leaves. And here as well. We'll throw some shadow in it in a minute. Won't take much to get this part done. Now I did get some green in the area that I meant to be yellow, but that's okay. I'm just gonna rinse my brush and grab some of that yellow paint and just go in there and add it where it needs to be. Make it darker later. Not a biggie. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the shadow in that area. I'm gonna mix a little bit more dark. I'm gonna get this more set a little bit more dark. I'll mix out a little bit more paint for more saturation. And then let's go in with ultramarine. Oh, this is the one thing about the Holbein set I did not like. It did not have an ultramarine. Well, in that 18 color set, I'm not saying all their sets are that way, but that 18 color set did not have an ultramarine in it, and it was just heartbreaking. Look how beautiful over dark that is. And I'm just going in and putting it in the hatch area. And I'm gonna go back and blend that out in just a second. Like I said, we were gonna make really quick work of this because of the ink and wash. Now, this brush comes to a pretty decent point, so you're able to get, some smaller hatch marks. It's not the finest brush though now, so it'll work for what I'm doing. Color up inside there where it would be shadowed. And now I'm gonna go do some blending. Pull as much of the water out of my brush as I can. And I'm gonna go in and just kind of blend. All right. Still trying to get rid of any harsh lines in that blend. All right. We'll move down here. Some of those lines are being left a little harsh, but for the most part they're all being blended because the hatch marks are there. All right. Same thing in this area, although you really don't have to blend inside the leaf if you don't want to. You can just leave it dark. I'm gonna blend it back just a little bit because that's all I have to do to the bottom part. I'm gonna continue to work up here. I do need to give that paper time to dry though, because I want to do the next part of this with watercolor pencil. I'm gonna add another layer because it did shift just a little bit, but that is because of all the water I used. Making sure I control the color, because hot press paper takes saturation really fast to me. So I really wanted more control. Oof. See, it's just, the saturation builds simply with the lightest touch of the brush. So it's not a bad paper. I wonder who they white labeled this from. Because I mean, I know Gravity didn't make it, so I wonder who they're white labeling this paper from. It doesn't feel familiar. And I've been using 100% cotton paper basically over the last year, so it's been a minute. And this isn't advertised as 100% cotton. And I don't remember seeing it as 100% cotton in the listing, although I could be wrong. All right, I need to let that dry so I can go in and put in some shadow color, which I'm going to do with the watercolor pencil. I'm just going to go in on my little hatchet areas and lightly color in that petal. And I'm using this fuchsia for my shadow color. I will say working with this really sharp lid is really nice right now. I'm trying not to do too much back and forth. You don't have to put down a lot of Inktense pencil. Not unless you want it to be super dark and saturated, which you may want to. See. And then we're going to go in with the damp wet brush and blend. think that's so pretty. It's a beautiful color combination. And it's definitely helping to separate the petals. I have spent my last couple of days doing a lot of crafting. Making a lot of products to list. As you guys know, the handmade products are making a transition to DeFyantArt.com versus Etsy. So I would normally be like, well, I just finished up a bunch of sketchbooks and I'll be listing them on Etsy soon. Well, in this case, I've just finished up some sketchbooks and you'll be seeing them in an upcoming video and they will be available on Etsy. But these are just custom books, so one of a kind. It's only one of them, unless I make 2 or 3 of the same one. I used to do that with junk journals. I would make a sketchbook and a junk journal combination, but they stopped selling, so I had to switch with the time. And then too, Etsy just started to get worse and worse and worse. Oh my goodness, and worse and worse. Etsy is just, I don't know. I like that. That looks cool. I'll go in with that same brush. I've been using the same number 2 brush for the entire painting. I'm going to squeeze the water off to make sure I don't have too much. We are talking about a watercolor pencil here. And I'm going to go in and blend that pencil out into my leaf, I keep wanting to say leaf, into my petal. Try my best to control any harsh lines. You have to move quick with these pencils because once they dry, it's there. And I'm just going to go around and blend out. And I put down too much pencil in a lot of areas. One thing you have to be careful of when it comes to ink tints versus a regular watercolor pencil, you do not need as much pencil to do what you would need to with a regular watercolor pencil. So that's definitely something to keep in mind if you ever use them. So now it's going to be much darker in that area than I wanted it to be because of my super heavy hand with that pencil. Yeah, the value on that is off. I'm definitely gonna have to. Well, the great thing is I'll be able to paint over it again with the yellow and not worry about the ink tint pencils moving. That's the great thing. So it may not be too lost of a cause just yet. Kind of step it up here. Being a little bit more mindful of the time. Would like to try to finish this in the next few minutes or so. I didn't put any hatch in there. That's fine. We'll let that roll. Oh, I went into that petal. That's okay. It happens. And then I'll go back and blend. So I'm doing like 2 petals at a time. And then I'm quickly trying to go back and blend out the very end so it won't be harsh. Okay, not bad. Okay, not bad. Ain't terrible. I am keeping directional coloring in mind as I do this. Trying to remember the direction that my petals are running in. I don't know. I don't know if I like the color contrast. I don't know if I like, I think the yellow is too light. But again, thank goodness I can fix that. I will check the comments section as soon as I finish blending out all this pencil. I'm kind of on a roll, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this part out. So the pencil will have a time to completely dry before I go back into this with, oh, well, that one blended out to be almost pink. It'll make a really interesting color when that yellow go back on top of it. And that's just because there was a lot of pencil there. I do mean a lot. It's a lot of pencil here too, for it to be such a small area. But I am working to reserve as much of the yellow as I can without intruding with the pink. And we can always, I should have used the white of the paper to add the highlights in as I was going, but we can always use a white color pencil, gouache, a gel pen. In my case, bleed proof more than likely. Which I guess, you know, I kind of look back at some of the paintings I've done over the past, year and a half or so. And you know what? The bleed proof can be a little harsh sometimes, I've noticed. So I'm definitely going to start reusing my color pencil technique for some of the highlighting that I do. Just, you know, when it calls for a much softer, more, just a softer highlight. Because I know I'm just go in full force with the bleed proof and, you know, that's what does the highlighting. But I have looked back at, you know, I've noticed that sometimes it could give the work almost an alcohol marker feel. And that's not always what I'm going for. I do want to start keeping my paintings a little more light, a little less maybe overworked. And we're just gonna pull that out and down that petal just a little bit on both sides, if we can make it stretch before it dries, which it dried. It's so quick. The thing about ink tints is you either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. Well, with certain products, there's no in between. I've heard some people tell me that they don't like the pencils. That amazes me. Um, with the blocks, I've heard people say they don't like the blocks. I can actually understand. The blocks are not for everyone. The blocks are, they do have sort of a grit granulation to them all that all artists is not going to jive with. I'm a landscape artist, so I really love them because of the texture that they add to landscapes, and I just happen to make other compositions work with them. But what I like painting the most with the blocks are landscapes. So I am definitely working on trying to be less of a everything, but I can't help it. I'm starting to figure maybe, my style. Okay, so sometimes I feel like we use the phrase my style to justify the fact that we might not be doing something properly, and it kind of becomes a crutch. And like I said, I've been looking back at older videos. I've been re-evaluating the way I paint, the different things I do, especially when it comes to when you guys are going along on the journey with me, when I call myself trying to demo something for you or teach something to you. I always want to make sure that those type of videos are evolving and growing, that I'm showing growth, and that hopefully you're able to get something out of those videos to help your growth as well. So I've just, been reevaluating to see different ways that I feel like I could learn. And as I'm learning from taking you guys on the journey with me, then you're learning too. Well, at least I hope that's how it would work. All right, I think I'm on the last little one. It's kind of cute. And then outside of the ink tint pencils or blocks, there's also the pan paints, which, let me tell you, are a lot like the blocks. Are a lot like pencils, but they're not as transparent. So the pencils are probably the most transparent ink tints product. The paints are actually pretty opaque, if the truth be told, but of course they're meant to be. Um, I like using the paints in crafting because they will dry down, and you can layer on top of them. If you guys caught any of the latest craft videos that went up with all those, which there was quite a few of them. There was the craft along where we made the little box with the kind of blue background. There was the one that came out where I showed you guys how to make the slide up box. All of that was made with that Paul Rubens 140-pound cold pressed paper that we cut down in order to make actually last minute Christmas gifts with. All of that was done with ink tints. If you guys remember us making this and creating the pages to go in it so that we can grade on top of, a lot of this was done with ink tints products, simply because they are not gonna really move once they dry down. So it makes it really easy to layer stuff on top of them. And this, the first video where we're working in this book that we made together is coming up in January as well. So January is going to be kind of packed full of a lot of different things that I hope you guys are going to enjoy. So I need to give it just another second to dry. I'm gonna hit that with another layer of yellow, and that's pretty much gonna wrap that up. So we will be doing February and January. So that's how we'll do it. Every month we'll do the month to come in the previous month, if that makes any sense. I couldn't put together in my head how to say that. So like in December we're doing January. In January we'll do February. So there will be one of these every month, as we talked about. I think we were originally talked about this idea back in November. It may have been Black Friday, or it may have been right after Prime Day, which was in October of last year. But it was October or November that we originally talked about this idea of doing a painting, doing a calendar for 2025. And I told you guys that I started to do this because I kind of want to maybe produce one of these under the DeFyantArts brand, but and I don't want it to be custom made. I do want it to be manufactured because I want to be able to, you know, um, have them on hand to ship out as they're ordered versus having to make them as they're ordered. So we'll see. I am going to intensify that yellow. Isn't it funny? We've used 3 colors in the paint. We've used the yellow, the lemon yellow, the sap green, and the ultramarine blue. And I love it. So we're going to go in and we are going to paint this entire flower with another wash of yellow. Let's get it big enough here. And hopefully it'll make sense. And it does. Yes, friends, this is a mission gold in work. Come on, Goldilocks. Do your thing. Love the fact that I can paint directly on top of those intense pencils without anything moving, smudging, or mixing into my color. This, my friends, is how you utilize your art supplies with each other in order to get through something quickly. We have used graphite to sketch. We have used, well, graphite was used to sketch the original, you know, transfer. Regular ink was used to ink it. Transferred it onto the watercolor paper where in this particular project we've used black fine liner, Mission Gold watercolor professional paint, or professional watercolor paint, should I say, Derwent Inktense pencils, and that's it. So I guess this is technically mixed media work. But we're just gonna call it a simple old ink and wash, line and wash, something and wash. I guess it is truly ink and wash because it's Inktense on here too, right? Then it's the fine liner. Okay. Let's see. I think that, my friends, is where I wanted to go with that. That is beautiful to me. Love it. Love it. Love it. And that is going to be our painting for the January calendar. Hopefully you guys painted along. Let's see if I can take the tape off, since the edges are not wet. Let's see how it pulls being taped down, and whether or not we're going to have any ripping. All right, I'm going to give away the other calendar. after I get this off and kind of end the portion that would be for the playback editing. All right, let's see if we can get this off here. I think I have, oh, this is the one I'm most concerned about because I'm scared it's gonna pull at the word. Okay, it seems to have do okay. It's doing okay. Now I'm removing this tape with the little trick I give you guys all the time to put it at a very sharp angle. Put it at a very sharp angle, and it will help prevent ripping. Notice how it's coming off folded over on itself. The parts I really be worried about are the ends mostly because they will rip first. This is a pretty good paper. I wonder who white labels this. This is decent. This is really decent paper. Okay, I have a newfound appreciation, respect, and love for hot press paper. Like, seriously. All right, there we have it, my friends. There's our project for today. So, friends, there we have what we were working on today. We did complete the carnation for the very first month of our watercolor calendar paint along, and I will put each of the watercolor calendar paint alongs in its own playlist, so you will be able to find it in under the playlist tab of the channel, and it'll probably say like 2025 watercolor calendar paint along, something along that line. And this will be, today's live will be the first video in that playlist since we did January. We also took a look at the completed Advent calendar journal for 2025. As I said, I'm going to be photographing this and putting pictures and a listing up on DeFyantArts website, which you will be able to access from the video description of this video or pretty much any video that's on the channel, especially in the last year or so. You can access the DeFyantArts website where you will be able to purchase your own custom-made art calendar journal. That way you can paint along and go along in 2025 with me if you want. And if not, then you can just tune in during 2025 Christmas season and follow along as I go through mine and you get to see what's in it. Keep in mind, it will have 100% cotton watercolor paper bound to the back, at least 14 pages for you to paint all 12 days of the Advent calendar, plus 2 additional ones. So, I was really excited. If you missed me kind of flipping through this and showing this, it is at the beginning of the live. So once we jump off, you can always just kind of restart the live. Check out the very beginning where we talked about this a little bit more in depth. But I had so much fun creating this, and I will have other things coming up that you'll see, like maybe YouTube shorts about or Instagram shorts about, that will be going up on this website for custom purchase over the next week or so. I have several different, really, in my opinion, really gorgeous projects that I've been working on. Because you know, Thrifty got to get some coins in this house. He's got to get some coins in this house. Get some coins in this house. All right, friends, it has been my pleasure. It is time for Thrifty to say adieu. I need to go finish up those sketchbook projects I told you that are coming out. So look for some shorts and some sketchbook releases. And if you're interested in it, grab them for yourself. It was my pleasure Again, I hope everyone enjoyed their Christmas, and I hope everyone is geared up to go into their new year with positivity and with great things on their minds. And hopefully, if you are a person that does the New Year resolution thing, one of your resolutions is to give yourself a little time and a little grace to watch your art grow during this upcoming year. Eat plenty of food, have plenty of fun, and I will see you all back here this upcoming Wednesday for the very first pre-recorded release of the 2025 year. I artsy love you, my family and friends. And as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep creating.